Hello. Today I'm going to talk about the history of domestic violence and how it relates to evolutionary psychology. So, domestic violence goes way back to Babylonian times. King Hammurabi's code explicitly stated that men used violence against women, as well as the Roman Empire. They were allowed to kill or sell or hurt their women as discipline. And the Catholic Church, they also believed that domestic violence, that it was good for the woman's soul. And the Puritans, the early American settlers, they followed right along. I was horrified to find out in 1964, my dad was a little boy, Time magazine published an article by doctors that basically said violence was therapy for both man and woman. And it wasn't until 1967 that Maine opened one of the first shelters for women. By 1975, most states allowed wives to charge her husband for injuring her. And the Surgeon General ranked abuse by husbands to be the leading cause of injury to women in 1992. Here's a graph that shows rates of domestic violence in the U.S. It's really not as good as you would think. And in 2020, we have seen a recent increase in domestic violence worldwide, actually. Some evolutionary explanations for this strategic interference theory tells us that competing strategies between intimate partners lead to frustration, which lead to aggression. Their short-term and long-term strategies tend to be very different, and conflicts happen over when or how often to have sex, access to consenting partners, and of course jealousy, which is the most common violence trigger. So, according to the parental investment theory, men can never be sure of paternity, and they have a high risk of cuckoldry, which, if you remember, is raising another man's offspring as your own without knowing it. And so, because of this, research suggests that men have evolved these anti-cuckoldry tactics, and this is called the cuckoldry risk hypothesis. It basically says that physical violence is proposed to be an anti-cuckoldry tactic intended to kind of prevent themselves or correct female infidelity or prevent themselves from cuckoldry. Research also indicated that intimate partner violence may be associated with behaviors that increase the man's probability of conceiving with his partner, such as more frequent intercourse, which would lessen your chances of cuckoldry also. So the evolutionary origins does not mean that all men will be abusive. Don't fall into the naturalistic fallacy. It does not mean that it's justifiable. There are other factors like social factors and physical factors that go into this as well. And in conclusion, we have made huge steps in spreading awareness, but we still have a long way to go in actually decreasing these violent occurrences. Individual therapy, of course, but we also as a society need to transform the way we view women and men and just the whole dynamic of relationships, basically.